So in this video, I'm going to show you some examples for objects and classes. For example, as a first example, I want to define a class named time. So public class time, and this class is going to have several variables and several methods. For example, as the variables, it needs to have hour, minute, and second. So private so that's the variables of this class. Then it needs to have some methods. The first method is going to set a new time value using the universal time. So it's going to set a new time value using universal time. So this method, the name of this method is setTime public void setTime. It's going to receive three parameters: int h, int m, int s. And it's going to set hour, minute, and second. So hour is going to be, so first it's going to check whether it's greater than 0 and less than 25. If this condition holds, then hour is going to be h, else it's going to be 0. So if h greater equal than 0 and h less than 24, it's going to be h, else it's going to be 0. For minute, that's the same. So if m is going to be greater or equal than 0 and m less than 60, is going to be m, else it's going to be 0. And for second, it's going to be s, else it's going to be 0. That's about this method. The next method is going to convert the time to a string in the universal time format. So convert to a string in universal time format. What is that format? As you see here, right? So public string to universal string, what it's going to do is it's going to return string dot format. And what's that format? Then we are going to, as the next method, we are going to convert to a string in a standard time format. So what's that format? That's, as you see here, so hour, minute, and second, AM or PM. Public string to a string. And it's going to return a string dot format %d and here it's going to check if hour is 0 or is equal to 12, then it should be 12, else it should be this value. Then minute, second, and if hour is less than 12, it should be AM, else it should be PM, right? So that's three methods and three variables for this class. So after creating this class, I need to create an object. So public static void main time1 time b new time1. Okay, so now we create an object of the class time1, and then what I'm going to print is what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this set time. So time dot set time for example, numbers 12, 13, 27, and 6. And then I'm going to print system.out.print universal time after set time is here. I am going to call the method to universal string of the class time. So system dot out dot println time dot to universal string. Let's see the result. So as you see, universal time after set time is, as you see here. So that's the time, right? Let's call another method. So system dot out dot print standard time after set time is. So here we are going to print the standard time, right? So we need to call the method to a string, right? So system dot out dot println time dot to a string. So standard time after set time is, as you see here, 1:27:06 p.m. So that's how you can call the methods of this simple class. Let's see one other example. In this example, I'm going to show you how we can use the keyword this. So we have a class with three variables for time. Again, private int hour, private int minute, private int second. Right. And then I'm going to have one constructor here that is going to use the keyword this in order to initialize these variables. So public simple time is going to receive three parameters, int minute and int second, right? And it's going to initialize them. So int hour, it's going to be over this dot minute is going to be minute. This dot second is going to be second. Right? Then here I will have one method to universal string that does the same function as the method that I explained in the previous example. So public string to universal string. And here is going to return string.format 0 to D this dot over this dot minute and this dot second. And then another method, build a string. Okay, so here, what it's going to return is return a string.format yes, because that's going to be a string. Then here I'm going to call the method to universal string, but here this dot to universal string. Right. So that's about the class. As you see how we are using this keyword inside the class to use the variables and to call the methods of the class. Okay, so inside the main method, I'm going to create an object from the class, and then call one of the method of this class. So first, let's create an object. So simple time be time, simple time, and then new simple time. 15, 30, and 90. And then I'm going to print system.out.println time dot build a string. Right. Time dot build a string. Let's run the code and see the result. Okay, we have some errors here. Okay, so let's call, for example, the method to universal string. So system.out.println time dot to universal string and run the code. So as you see here, I can see this as the output. Let's see one other simple example. In this example, I'm going to show you several constructors and how, for example, we can use these in constructors. So again, we have this simple class time2 with 3 variables. In the first constructor, what I want to do is it gets, for example, 3 parameters and is going to call the method setTime. So I will explain about this method later. So setTime H, M, and S. So that's the first constructor. The setTime is one method that receives 3 parameters and is going to set the time for these parameters. For example, here, set hour, that's one method. Set minute, that's another method. Set second, that's the other method that I will explain later. So now let's continue about the constructors. So as you see, the first one receives 3 parameters and call the method setTime here. So I want to have another constructor time2, and in this one, I'm going to use the this keyword and I want to call the constructor with three parameters, this one, with some values, for example, zero values. So this 0, 0, and 0. Then I want to have another constructor that receives some parameters, right? For example, one parameter as the edge, and is going to call the constructor with three parameters, and the edge as the first one. Another constructor that this one receives edge and m, for example, as the parameters, and then is going to call the constructor with three parameters, this h, m, and 0. So these are some constructors as you see here that use this in order to call another constructor. So as you see this with three parameters, so this one will invoke the constructor with three parameters, right? Now let's see how we can define these methods, set hour, set minute, and set second. For example, public void, because it's going to return nothing, set hour be int h. So hour is going to be here. We'll check whether h is greater than 0 and less than 24. It's h, else it's 0. For minute, public void set minute int m, and here is going to assign a value to minute. So minute be if m is greater than or equal to 0 and m is less than 60, then it should be m, else it should be 0. Another method for set second so second is going to be, it will check the value of s as long as s is greater than or equal to 0 and s is less than 60, s else 0. So as you see, these three methods are responsible for assigning values for the variables hour, minute, and second. So I'm going to create some other methods that these methods are going to return the value of these variables. Okay, so public int get hour. So here this is going to return the hour, or public int get minute. Here it's going to return the minute, the value of minute. Or for example, public int get second, it's going to return the value of second, right? So these three methods are responsible for returning the value of these variables. So let's create one other constructor here. And in this constructor, as the input parameter, it will receive time and then it's going to invoke this constructor, but for h, m, and s, it's going to return the value of h, m, and s of time, right? So this time dot get over time dot get minute and time dot get second. And then again, two other methods for converting for example, the time in some format, universal time format and standard time format. So public string to universal string return a string dot format get hour, get minute, and get second, right? And public string to string return a string dot format and here it's going to check get over be 0 or get over be 12, then 12 else get over get minute get second, right? Okay, now let's create some object from this class. So time2 T1b new time2. So this one will invoke this constructor, right? So if system.out.println constructed with system.out.println T1 all arguments defaulted system.out.println T1 dot to universal string, for example. Let's run the codes. As you see, that's 0, right? Let's create another object, time2b, t2b, new time2. This one is going to invoke this constructor, right? System.out.println, for example, T2, we have our specified minute and second defaulted, right? Then system.out.printf T2 dot to universal string. So as you see here, the over here is 2, right? Let's create another object, time2, for example, t3, b, new time 2, and this one is going to 21 and 34. It's going to invoke this constructor, right? This is the result. Time t4b, new time 2, and here 12, 25, and 42. So let's see the result as you see here, right? And then time 2 be t5 equals new time 2 t4, right? So as the input parameter, I'm using the object t4. So as you see, that's the result, right?